Comrade Kazakov, we're right on schedule. We'll be arriving in 5 minutes.
Very good. Let's teach these guys a few tricks and hurry back to Uncle Ho Chi Minh.
Right, you got it. Heads up, Hueys!
Well, comrades, we're in it deep. Our vehicles are all blown up. The area is swarming with enemy infantry and helicopters, and I doubt Hanoi would send rescue this far out. I think we're on our own. Let's try to get out of this alive. The Yankees are probably sending in more troops to clean up after their helicopter attack. We have to fight them back and find a way to refit and re-equip. There should be some supplies stored here, where the anti-aircraft defenses were to be set up. Let's kick the Americans out of there and raid the area for what we need. We'll infiltrate the base after that, and look for any kind of vehicle we can use to get back to the border. We'll have to deal with the Hueys before we leave the base. Even if we are extra quiet, the helicopters won't just let us drive away. They'll spot us on the road and hit us with everything they've got. So we'll have to disable the choppers first, and figure it out from there.
We need to link up with our contact in this sector. He'll put us through to the temporary base by the border. If everything goes well, we'll be in Cambodia in no time.
I like the sound of that.
It's about time. One more day with these mosquitoes and I'll have no flesh left on my bones.
Attention, comrades. Here's the situation. We need to avoid detection by the enemy and link up with our contact in this village here. He'll get us some fuel for our battleship and point us towards the extraction point. This sector is controlled by the Vietnamese Rangers. The probability of encountering them is high. They were trained by US Special Forces, so they won't be a pushover. If we can't link up with our contact, we'll have to fight for fuel and other things we need. Ranger units appear to be concentrated around these villages and this hill right here. If things go wrong, we'll have to scout each one of these areas, so don't expect a walk in the park.
Oh darn, this is bad. This used to be manned by Australian before. We could go through without bloodshed, but those guys look American.
I see. That's pretty clear then. We'll just have to deal with those Yankees. Comrades! Move out! Alright. We can't use the river anymore. We'll drive instead as soon as we clear the checkpoints by the river. We can't make it across while the Americans are watching, though. So let's get as close as we can. And hit them hard before they spot us and get their mortar involved. We have to act fast. According to intel, enemy activity is very high along the south. Lots of infantry, APCs, and armor. If we don't make it across before the Americans show up, they'll man their defenses again and we'll have to fight them every inch of the way. So, Comrade Fam, what's the good word?
Great news, everybody! Command is willing to send a helicopter to bring you to Hanoi.
A helicopter, you say? Not a fixed wing.
What? Hey, that's a Phantom! Yankees, take cover!
Here's a map of the base. It's fortified and manned by well-trained North Vietnamese army regulars. We can expect some help from Chinese APCs, T-54 tanks, Mi-4 helicopters, and Soviet-made anti-aircraft guns. If they're smart, the Americans will hit us with a combined force of infantry, armor, and air support. They will probably attack along one of these two likely routes. They can also try a small force through this ravine. The Yankees will try to break through our defenses and eliminate the HQ. If they succeed, we'll quickly fall. All right, fellas. Our first task is to quietly eliminate the guards in this area.
Right, boss. If they raise the alarm too early, you'll blow this whole operation.
Right. There's the chopper. We can't lose it. If things go wrong, that's our only way out. We'll hit the American base from the north. We have to stay quiet and deal maximum damage. We got to weaken them for the main attack as much as we can. We have the following objectives. First, mine the enemy howitzers. Secondly, eliminate the radio to make sure they can't call for air support. Third, we are to deal with the demolition team. They can remotely trigger the explosives outside the base perimeter from their tent. If we don't take care of them before the main attack, most of the Vietnamese infantry will get killed before they get to the base. Remember, the Vietnamese will attack as soon as the alarm is raised at the base. Let's try to stay out of sight as long as we can, then find a safe spot to blow up the heavy guns. Yankees will scream bloody murder. Our allies will launch their attack and will assist them with surgical strikes from the rear. Any questions? Let's get started. This picture was taken in Hanoi on February 1st, 1968. Lieutenant Kazakov's group had just returned from South Vietnam. Kazakov and Morozov's mission in Vietnam was deemed complete, and they got on a plane back home. Sergeant Lee Wan Quan fought all the way until April 30th, 1975. He was killed in action just as the communists were hoisting their flag over the Independence Palace in Saigon and ending the Vietnam War. Lieutenant Pham Thanh Minh also fought until the last days of the war. His involvement with Soviet Special Forces did not remain unnoticed. He quickly rose to the ranks of the Communist Party of the Social Republic of Vietnam. Lieutenant Morozov returned to the USSR in early spring of 1968. His diary entry about the end of his involvement in Vietnam was not entirely correct. He had to go back to South Vietnam a few times on special assignments to eliminate high-profile enemy targets and snipers. Officially, this was Lieutenant Kazakov's last war. Once back in the USSR, he became an instructor at one of the top military academies. A few years later, he unexpectedly quit and went to the Far East, where he dedicated his life to fighting illegal gold mining. Another war raged there. Unofficial, unacknowledged, and unknown to the general public. 3 years later, Kazakov went missing during one of the operations. His trail goes forever cold in the taiga.